All right. We're going to talk about money tonight. All right. When you get on, everyone, let's just start with this. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, forensic warriors. Let's just get started. Tonight, we're going to talk about money. The secret to making money. The secret that the 1% knows that the rest of the world doesn't know. And we're going to connect that into multi-level marketing or MLM or direct sales or e-commerce. And in order for you to understand money, you first have to understand how life works and your entire lifetime. Once you understand how it works, then you can understand money. Get everybody to come on. Go on YouTube, guys. My phone is low on battery, and you may get cut off on Zoom. So go to YouTube, Forensic Networker. And we're right there. You can see me as we get this thing going. When you get here, make sure you like the video immediately for algorithm, subscribe, click on the bell button so you can get notified when we do things. I'm going to be putting out a lot more shorter videos on during the day. And we're going to get together during the course of the day, not just once a week. Hopefully we can get this done once a day if time permits on my end. So make sure you like and subscribe. And you throw a comment in there as well. Put a comment in, share the link right now as you're listening. Take the link on the bottom to share. Share it with a few of your team. Get them to get on the Forensic Networker channel. Tonight, we're talking about the secret of getting rich, the secret of money. We're going to talk about that. All right, so let's get started. The very first book that I read, and people always ask me, if you had to recommend a book, which one would it be? There's two. One of them is called Think and Grow Rich. If you read the book, just put in the comment that you've read the book. I'm going to see how many people read the book. In chapter 8, I never forget that chapter 8 was about what the world is made of, what we're made of, what our universe is made of, which is energy and matter. Energy. Everything on the planet is made of energy and matter. So whether it's me, this cup of coffee, you, cars, everything's energy. And since that's a fact, we also know another fact that energy communicates with each other, right? So that means pretty much everything you have, don't have, feel, don't feel is based on the energy that you're creating and that's around you. Today, we're not going to get that vast. Today, we're going to focus on one thing, money. So the title of this video says, MLM is monetary energy. And we're going to really explore that tonight and try to capture this. If you capture this, you could be a millionaire in 3 to 5 years. If you capture this, you could be a completely different world in 3 to 5 years. If that sounds good to you, subscribe, like, throw some comments on there. We're going to have a lot of fun tonight. In Forensic Networker, I talk a lot about the psychology behind the business. I talk a lot about the laws of nature. My whole forensic course is about that. And tonight, I want to focus on, you hear me talk a lot about quantum physics and science and all this stuff, because I believe everything is attached to each other. Once you understand what's behind the result, then you can make those corrections, right? What's behind the result? You can't change the result unless you know what's behind the result. So the title says MLM is monetary energy. So what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at jobs. Most people have jobs. I mean, we all started with a job. But job has no monetary energy. See, if your energy and money's energy, and we know that to be a fact, we're going to take a look at C, then that means the more energy you have, the more money you have, is the better life gets. But how do you create that money? And the way you're creating that money, how much monetary energy does it have? Is the way you make your money, whether it's traditional business, franchises, e-commerce, MLM, or job, its monetary energy is what determines if your life is going to be, you're going to create wealth or not. And let's talk a little bit about that. Your job creates a certain amount of monetary energy. Your MLM business creates a certain amount of monetary energy. Doesn't matter how you create your money, they carry certain level of monetary energy. The question is the monetary energy that you're creating, is it in a net positive or is it a net negative? And what I mean by that is, how do you determine that? Is what is your negative monetary energy? In other words, how much money do you need to, you're putting out every day, every hour, every month, every year? That's your net negative monetary energy, right? So, and what you bring in is your positive. Now, the one factor here that determines that in your life, in my life, is inflation. Because we know inflation is a negative monetary energy. What it is just basically, it's a cost. Inflation is a cost. It's a negative monetary energy. Now, if we take a look at, and what you bring in as income, or if we bring in as increase your income, then that becomes your positive. So if you take a look at what the true inflation is, not the junk that the government uses that doesn't include your everything you actually need, like food and assets, it doesn't include any of that, right? A true monetary energy, according to analysts, about 10 to 15% a year. Some cases 20%. Some countries is much more than that. I'm talking Canada, developed countries. We're talking 10 to 15%, maybe to 20% per year. That's inflation's negative monetary energy. So inflation basically sucks all the monetary energy of your job and more. Because if you take a look at incorporation raises in Canada, it's the same all over the world, but let's just talk about Canada. Last year, incorporation, according to the stats, incorporations in Canada offered 2.5% raise. Actually, last year was nothing. Forget COVID. Let's forget about the worst year. Let's go on an average last decade, right? Incorporation raise was about 2 to 2.5% per year. Okay, so your job provides you with a 2.5% raise. That's your monetary energy of your job. Try to stay with me on this. You got to stay with me on this. Okay, you got to get this, because what I'm giving you is true secrets on how do you change everything. So your job, whatever your raise is, your monetary energy of your money plus your raise, it's about 2.5% a year in raise. That's your monetary energy. If you spend all the money in your job, which most people do, right? Very few don't. Most people do. They spend all the money in their job. People live paycheck to paycheck. And then inflation has 10 to 15% negative monetary energy. So now the inflation sucks all the monetary energy of your job and puts you in net negative, because your job brings 2.5% a year positive monetary energy, and inflation brings 10 to 15% or more a year in negative monetary energy. Now, in some countries, it's much worse. El Salvador, you're looking at Venezuela, you look at all these countries. Iran is online today. Their inflation is much higher. Some African countries, much higher than that. We're taking your bare minimum. We're taking the best countries in the world, Canada, US, Europe, and they got 10 to 15% or 20% negative monetary energy. So if you lived in Canada, Europe, US, forget about the worst countries, you're getting poorer and poorer every year. Why? Because your monetary energy of your job was about 2 to 2.5%. The negative of inflation was 10 to 15 to 20%. You are now in a net negative of 12 to 15% monetary energy per year. What does that mean? Simply means you're getting poorer and poorer and poorer. It's that simple. So again, if your job brings you, say, 3% raise, But inflation is 10 to 15 to 20%, say 10 to 15%, then all of a sudden, in monetary energy, you are in a net negative of 12 to 15%, 10, 12, 15%, depending on what the inflation is. Nobody knows because the government doesn't tell you. Nobody really knows. In order to know the exact inflation, you have to take all the industries, cars, vegetables, building supplies, clothing, everything, put it together. I'm sure somebody knows, but nobody gives out the true inflation. The government certainly don't want people to know. So if you're in a job, every single year, it doesn't matter what country you live, every single year, you're in a negative monetary energy, AKA getting poorer every single year. Let that sink in for a little bit. Let's look at the word energy. Energy is a Greek word, and that basically means it's protons that are active. I don't quite exactly know where it came from. It's not a Greek word. I don't know where it came from, but basically means a bunch of protons that are very much active. So many things are measured in energy. Many things are measured in energy. And since we know scientifically everything is energy, it makes sense that if you got more positive energy, we gain. That could be your money, your health, your relationships, your mood. And if you are in a negative energy, then you decline. It's not complicated. All right, everybody on Zoom, I know there's lots of you there. Just go, while you're listening, just go to YouTube. I want to see you here. Put some notes on YouTube so I can see you because I'm not watching Zoom. So get on YouTube, subscribe, like, share. Meet me here. Soon we're not going to do Zoom. This is going to be the home. So let's get some practice right now. Get on YouTube, Forensic Networker. I'll see you guys here. So your job is at a net negative energy of 10 to 15% at best of times. That means most people are getting poorer and poorer and poorer, vast majority. Let's take it somewhere else. Let's assume you have some cash in the bank, right? You have some savings. And that gets you 1 to 2% interest every year. No, it's not even that much, but let's assume it is. So you get 1 or 2% a year on your cash because some people feel good, they got some cash sitting around. But they don't recognize and realize that cash in the bank is depleting by 10 to 15% a year, called inflation. So your cash reserve in the bank, although it looks the same, maybe a bit higher because of 1 or 2%, but it's monetary energy to actually convert that cash into things that you want declines by 10, 15 to 20% per year. Let me explain that to you. Let's assume you have $1,000 in cash this year. Next year, you have $1,000 in the cash. You haven't touched it. You still got $1,000 in the bank. Here's the problem. The $1,000 in cash this year bought you $1,000 worth of goods and services that you want. But next year, that $1,000 is only buying you $850, $800, $900 worth of goods and services. So you decline by 10 to 20% every single year. And that's every single year. Put it on YouTube for me, every single year. That's every financial analyst knows that. It's called inflation. So your cash reserve, if you think you got savings, yeah, but I'm saving, it's getting interest. You're getting poorer and poorer every single year. So these are the things that the top 1% know. That's why they make the type of investments they make. Because they understand cash in the bank, it's going to make them poorer every single year. They don't keep cash. The cash, you might not know this, cash has lost 96% of its value, US dollars, has lost 96% of its value for the last 50 years. 96%. That's not just US, that happens to every currency, but just to talk about the US, because right now it's the world's reserve currency. That means that what would have bought you an ounce of gold, say 50 years ago, an ounce of gold would have, would have bought you, 13 ounces of gold would have bought you a Ford Mustang. A 13 ounce of gold bought you a Ford Mustang. And the $5,000 would have bought you the same Ford Mustang. 13 ounce of gold bought you a Ford Mustang. $5,000 bought you the same Ford Mustang 50 years ago. Today, 13 ounce of gold still buys you a Ford Mustang, but $5,000 doesn't buy you anymore a Ford Mustang. No, you need $50,000 to buy you a Ford Mustang. What does that mean? It wasn't a Ford Mustang that became more expensive. It's still 13 ounce of gold. It's your money that lost its value. When people say things are expensive, that's because people don't understand how money works. Things never get expensive. Things remain the same. Nothing gets expensive. It's your money that's losing its value. The example I just gave you was just that. Is that 13 ounce of gold 50 years ago or today still buys that Ford Mustang, but your 5,000 doesn't anymore. That means the Ford Mustang price didn't go up. It's your money value that went down. Now you don't need 5,000. You need 10 times more. You need 50,000 to buy the same 13 ounce of gold, or to go ahead and to buy a Ford Mustang. Anyway, you have to understand that how the rich people think. They understand this, so cash doesn't do you any good. So if you got money in the bank and you feel good about that, it's good that you do, but understand that the rich people, they understand one thing. Cash in the bank makes you 10 to 15% poorer every single year. It's that simple. And when you do some research, you find out, if I'm telling you, it's something that has been going on for a long time, except you just didn't know about it. So somebody says, okay, cash is no good, then what do? Let's look at investments. S&P 500, I guess this is the biggest metric when it comes to investments. It gives you about 8% a year on an average, the last, 30, 40 years. It gives you about 8% a year on average interest. People say, that's good. 8% compound every 7, 8, 9 years, I double my money. It sounds good, except when you lose 10 or 15% a year. So now if you're in the stock market, S&P, you can always go into things that are going in that value. If you really know what to do this, you have to be in areas that it takes a lot of expertise to know where to be. That's growing faster than inflation. And there are people who are making a fortune. For most people who just kind of go to the bank and say, okay, put me into some type of package, mutual funds or something like that. Well, if you're gaining 8% a year, which is average, and inflation is 10 to 15% a year, you're in a net negative of 7 to 8% a year. Now, you feel good because you have maybe $200,000-300,000 of accumulated over time in stocks. The problem is that the $200,000-300,000, it's buying you whatever it is today, but the same $200,000-300,000, if you kept it that way 10 years from now, it's going to be buy you less than half of that in whatever you want, because it's a net negative monetary energy. In other words, inflation is going faster than the value. So this is what's happening, right? It's just your money is losing its value in a net negative. So a job is net negative, cash is net negative, investments is better, it's in the net negative. So your job cannot get into a positive monetary energy because there just isn't enough time in a day for you to do that. Let's get that right. By yourself, there's just not enough time in the day for you to catch up to inflation. You are in a negative monetary energy, and everything is energy. So you're declining year after year after year. So you're getting poorer and poorer and poorer every year. See, once you know these things, you know what the top 1% do. You never see a top 1% having a job, right? I mean, it's they started with a job, right? Or if they have a job, it's some CEO of some company making a lot of money. In other words, they make a lot more money than they need. They're not like the average person where pretty much all their paycheck goes towards their living expenses. At best, some people borrow, right? So if you got a job that pays you a lot more than what you need, I suppose you're okay. But those people are rare, right? For most people, the job is just basically to pay the bills. So what do you have to do? What you need, by yourself, you can't do this. So what you need is something that taps into not just your energy and other people's energy. In other words, you need a business. You need something that taps into many energies and not just yourself. In MLM, we call that what? We call it leverage. In MLM, we call it leverage. You need a business. Because why? In business, whether it's traditional or franchises or MLM, it's not just your energy. It's not just your monetary energy that you're benefiting from. In business, many people buy from you. That's many people's monetary energy that you're benefiting from. That's why, to simplify, they say you got to be self-employed. If you want to create wealth, you've got to be self-employed. We all know that. We've heard it since forever. Well, I'm explaining to you the scientific part behind it. Why you need a business, because a business is not just you. Remember, everything is energy, right? I want to stick on the topic. Everything is energy. So it's just not your monetary energy, which is in a net negative, by the way. If you're in a job, then you'll need to tap into other people's monetary energy because there's just not enough time in a day for you to get in a net positive. So you're in a net negative, you tap into other people's monetary energy, then you can get above the inflation rate, and then now you're positive. That's when you need a business. That's what I always tell you, you need to start a business. So when you start a traditional business, you benefit from many people's monetary energy. When you start an MLM business, you start from many people's monetary energy squared times 2. We're going to get a little bit more into that later. So before we go to that next level of this, let me talk. What the first thing I did last year when they stopped printing a lot of money, and I guess some of you guys know this, Renee knows this, because I talked to him about this last year. I said, okay, we got to do something with the company's cash because the worst thing we want to do is to keep the cash. My personal, I said, okay, we gotta do something because when they print money, then inflation even goes higher. All of you guys are aware of what happened to the price of fruit, vegetable, hand sanitizers went from $1.99 to $10. You've heard about the lumber. You've heard about things have just gone mad. Real estate, mad. When you take a look at that, the inflation, the true inflation, some are saying 40 to 50%, even right here in Canada. Nobody wants to talk about that. That means if you went and buy anything, how much did you pay for toilet paper? I mean, it's insane what they did during the pandemic. It's because as they print money to throw it at people, businesses get greedy, they raise their prices. and you have to dish it out. That's called inflation. So it's important for you to understand what we're trying to make sure that you get it is that once you understand why we forward or backwards, then you can do things to make that change. If you all wondered, why should I keep doing my MLM business? Well, the simple answer is you have no choice. That's a simple answer. You have no choice. You're in a negative monetary energy. If you only got a job, you fall in that category. You don't have a choice. So you got your job. I'm not saying quit your job. No, I'm saying keep your job, build your MLM, and MLM gives you leverage. Now you can have a whole bunch of other monetary energies added to your job energy, and now you can go beyond inflation energy, negative energy, and now you start to make a headway. Just because you pay your bills, your credit card balance, minimum balances, that doesn't make you float. People are saying, I'm afloat. When somebody says that, surviving, I'm afloat, I always question them. I said, so what does that mean exactly? You know what? They never thought about what they were saying. They never actually understand what they just said. So I kind of surprised. Says, yeah, what does that mean? I'm afloat and I'm surviving. What does that exactly mean? I know what it means, but I want them to think about what they just said. They're like, well, kind of, paying the bills. Okay. That means I got a credit card bill. I got a line of credit bill. I have loans. I have debt. And I'm just meeting the payments. So they're fighting so all their income is going to pay that. Now they're forgetting that inflation is going up by about 5 to 6 times of the raise every single year. So every single year it's going to be tougher for them to meet that afloat, to be breaking even. Eventually, something has to give. And that goes right in the stats. Where in Canada, every year we have a new household debt record. Households have more and more debt. That leads to more and more bankruptcies and leads to more and more. How many people are working before the pandemic? How many people were working at retirement age? You saw them everywhere. You saw them everywhere. Now you understand. Those people who work 40, 50 years and now they're working at Walmart at the door is because the monetary energy was always in the net negative. And where they thought they could retire, they found themselves in a really bad situation. So the only way to get above that is to tap into other people's monetary energy. You can't do it by yourself. You and your spouse are going to have a hard time doing it. Some can, they have great jobs, or they're frugal, or whatever. So maybe great investment, whatever. But most people, they will never be able to do it. It's going to be that's why I've been talking about this for 30 years. Every decade, life gets tougher than the previous decade. I always say more than ever, we have to work hard to start our children in a better path, because every decade the kids have it tougher than the previous. See, we had it tougher than our parents, right? The taxes and work and stress, the parents had it tougher than their parents. There was a time one-income families did very well. Back in the 60s and 70s, one-income families did well. One stayed home. And then it just wasn't enough. Why? Because they were in a net negative monetary energy. They didn't know. Inflation was higher. So what happens then? I guess they needed two-income families. Then both husband and wife were working. And they were doing fine. Or they thought they were doing fine. Because they were paying the bills, they were afloat. Then came this millennium, they were just not doing well. So it became 2 incomes plus something else. This is why e-commerce is blowing up. MLM is blowing up. It's because people understand that they still need to do something outside a job to stay afloat. So once you understand this net negative or net positive energy, then you say to yourself, damn, I better start building my MLM business. You see, most people think, well, I don't have to do this, I have a job. I mean, I don't even think I'm going to say that anymore because with the pandemic, all that, I don't even think people say that anymore. But let's assume pre-pandemic, right? Some people were kind of, they never realized that it took them 10 years to pay the $5,000 credit card bill. They never realized that they're always in debt and line of credits and mortgages and car lease. They never understood that. They're kind of used to it, right? Unfortunately, the only time it comes to hit you when it's time to retirement or something really bad happens, you lose your job, bankruptcy hits. So people just don't, we kind of adapt to our environment. You know, human beings are like the virus. You know, if we kind of adapt to our environment and we kind of try to mutate into a new situation till we can't. And it's called bankruptcy. But the 1% know. They look at the balance book or balance sheet and say, okay, look, I'm in a net negative. No, they don't refer to it as monetary energy. They refer to it as pure numbers. Accountants can tell you that. We're in a net negative. That cannot end well. It cannot end well. In businesses, we kind of see it because you got accountants who are professional. They're looking at it every day. They could tell you, but in an average person's life, we're not looking or trained to look for those things. And it becomes a very difficult life, doesn't it? If you're new, just got on the channel, make sure you subscribe, you like, hit the bell button, throw a few comments on, tell us you're here, wake up YouTube that we're here. I'm gonna give you an example. People with type 1 or type A diabetes, essentially what that is that they have an insulin issue. And no matter how much they eat, the body's always starving. There's a problem there. So it doesn't matter how much they eat, the body is always in starvation mode because of insulin issue. See, jobs are like that. Jobs are like financial diabetes. But it doesn't matter how much you work. Somebody says, I got 3 jobs. It really doesn't matter. Because no matter how many jobs you personally have, your monetary energy can never be net positive because you're never going to reach 10 to 20% a year. That's what inflation is. You're negative monetary value, monetary energy. Traditional business is good too because, again, you have a traditional business, franchises. Why is it good? Well, because you're tapping into hundreds of people every week, every day, every month that comes in, and they give you their monetary energy. So businesses do well. What did they say? Go open a business. Of course, it costs money to start a traditional business. It takes a lot of investment up front and maintenance every month. It costs a lot to upkeep a traditional business. That's why the success ratio is not that great. Franchises, great option. Why? Because you're tapping into thousands of other monetary energies, which is great. If you can start one, average, what, 500,000, 700,000 an average to start a good one. And then the cost of keeping it is extremely high. So you have to, so what I'm trying to tell you at the end of the day is this. You have to be aware what is that dictates our world. It's energy. Are you in a net positive energy or a net negative energy? Your financial health is based on one thing, monetary energy. It's that simple. Are you suffering from financial diabetes? That no matter how much you work, it doesn't seem to move the scale at all? Or you have so much monetary positive monetary energy that you don't you know, you live your life, you buy what you want, you have access to life's full menu, you don't have any debt. I mean, can you buy everything that you want and not accumulate debt? If you can do that, then I guess you are in a positive net energy. How beautiful is that? Oh, that sounds so good, doesn't it? Be able to buy whatever you want without accumulating debt. I think that would make a good definition of being in a positive monetary energy. Yeah, that sounds really good. Be able to buy whatever you want, do whatever you want without accumulating debt. Negative. Because if you're accumulating debt, it's negative monetary energy, right? Now, sometimes you take debt, not because you have to, because it makes more sense to do that because it's so cheap to get financial. But that's fine. There are people, you know, I borrowed money for investments. It just makes sense. It's cheap to borrow these days. And I know what I'm investing it into is making me more. So in other words, my positive monetary energy from the investment is higher than the loan interest, negative monetary energy. So I'm in a net positive again. So how do you get into positive monetary energy? Let's just recap this. Well, you basically have to, whatever it is that you're doing, it has to get you about 20% more than what you need. So, and what you need is a question that you have to understand, because a lot of people don't even know what they need. They think just because they float. That's not what I mean by that. That's not what I mean by that. So jobs, would the jobs give you 20% of positive monetary energy? No. Why we know that? Well, because we know unless you're making solid six-figure income in your job, because okay, then that's fine. That's not everybody, right? Those are the top 1% anyways. Let's talk about the 99%. We know jobs doesn't provide that because the average raise is about 2 to 2.5%. If there is one, because last year there was no raise, it was wage freezes last year. So 2.5%, it doesn't take a math genius to know, it's less than 15 to 20% negative monetary energy. So you are in a net negative monetary energy. That means you are suffering from financial diabetes. No matter how much you work, it's just you're starving. Bonds and RSP, a lot of people got those. They're excited about having those. They add to those. I'm not saying not to do it. You should do it. It's great to do it. What I'm telling you, it's not going to make you rich, though. It doesn't mean you're in a negative. You're in a positive monetary energy. You're not, because we know what bonds and cash brings you as profit, even on a compound basis. It's not nowhere close to meeting the inflation negative monetary energy of 10 to 15% a year. I'm not even talking about last year where it was 60%, 100%. Some countries, 200, 300, thousands of percent. I mean, Zimbabwe, literally, you have to walk around with wheelbarrows just to buy groceries. That's how valueless their currency is. Can we help those people with MLM? Hell yeah. I wrote in Forensic years ago that, if precious metals, because it's a hedge against currency, because currency is losing its value, precious metals going up, then MLM is a hedge against jobs. Because jobs are losing their value, and MLM is, because as you build it, MLM keeps gaining value. See, jobs, because of the negative monetary energy, keeps losing its value every year. Your job with the raise buys you less and less of the stuff you need. So it's a negative net energy. But the business, MLM, you started today. You talk to two people, somebody buys something, boom, it gets a bump. Every month, people get added to the team, it gets a bump. Every day somebody buys something, it gets a bump. You're building, as you're building your MLM, it's not going down, it's gaining. It's a positive net monetary energy where a job is declining. So bonds on RSP is good to do it. You should do it, but it's not going to get you rich. It gets you, since it's a negative monetary energy, it's going to make you poorer and poorer. You might not feel it because you go to retirement, you know, you've got a bunch of money sitting there, but then what you come to realization is that it is far less that you put into it in what you get out of it. What I mean by that is everything you put into it, you come there, say you got $500,000 in investments. When you take a look at what you put into it all those years and what that money at that time could have bought you, and what now that combined that money can buy you is far less of what you could have done those years because of inflation. That means you're getting far less. So let's assume you put in 500 grand in, and 2% of that or 8% of that was interest, right, that you gained. Well, now you're getting 80% less value, although it's a bigger number, but you're getting 80% less goods and services because of inflation. So it's not worth a lot. It makes you feel good. It's in your bank account. Stocks and equities? Nope. We talk about S&P 500, 8% a year. They brag about that. 8% a year compounding interest. Every 7 or 8 years, you double your money. Okay? Every 7 or 8 years, you double your money. Every 7 or 8 years, you're losing, what, 80% of the value of what you can actually buy? When you look at, I mean, take a look at doing some work. An electrician did some work. He was telling me, he goes, Ramin, we used to buy a roll of copper for $100. Now it's $500. That's my friend. He's telling me the truth. And he says, that's 500%. 500% even up last year. Copper. This is affecting you every part of your life. Real estate. Is that good? Yeah. Real estate is good. But if you can do real estate, you're already in a net positive, right? Because you couldn't afford to buy it otherwise. If you can afford to go buy real estate, then you're already in a net positive energy, monetary energy. In order for you to be able to do that. It's a good thing. And everybody should be doing it. But I argue that MLM is a much better investment. You should do real estate. I do real estate too. But MLM has got me a lot more than the real estate ever did. And here's the reason why. MLM has some advantages. You can't move real estate around with you. Right? If you decide to move another country, you can't move it with you. You have to sell it then, right? It's harder to expand in real estate because, okay, you can buy where you live, but you can't buy other part of the world. You can, but nobody does. Like, you know, some countries don't even allow it, but it's very difficult to buy real estate outside your area. MLM, how many of you have expanded your team outside your city or country? If you have, hit me. Give me some notes. Say me. How many cities? How many countries? Throw some numbers on YouTube for me. Throw some numbers on Zoom for me if you're listening still. So it's not hard. It's not that easy to buy real estate outside your city. It can be done, but it's not easy. Even if you're in a positive net monetary energy. But MLM is easy to do that. All of you have done that. How many of you have a team that's gone outside your city? It's a lot easier. A lot easier. Are you guys awake? Let's see. Type in something. Let's get you guys participating here. Real estate, of course, it can be confiscated. You know, governments do it all the time. It requires huge maintenance. Well, MLM cannot be confiscated, and it doesn't require any maintenance. It's the best. Now, traditional businesses and franchises can get you the positive monetary energy. They definitely can. You know, it requires. But then if you have a bit traditional business and if you have a franchise, most likely you are already in the positive monetary energy to be able to do that, because businesses cost a lot of money to start, and it costs a lot of money to maintain. So it's good, except again, I'll argue MLM is better. Why? Well, you can't move your business with you, city to city, country to country, right? You can't do that, right? It's very expensive to maintain. Very expensive to maintain. Again, your business accounts can be confiscated, right? Taxes. MLM is great. Your business is all over the world. You get paid on your cards. No one can confiscate it. So e-commerce, there's another one. So jobs cannot do it. Bonds and RSP cannot do it. Stocks and equities can't do it. Real estate it can, but if you're already there, that means you have to, in order to get real estate, you have to get yourself in a positive monetary energy anyways to get there. Businesses, franchises can do it. Again, real estate or business franchise cannot be moved, can be confiscated. Very high maintenance. It's hard. What's the next one? E-commerce can. Yes, e-commerce definitely can get you in a positive monetary energy. You can do your job and add with it with your e-commerce business. E-commerce, yes, it can. MLM, yes and yes, because it's not just your customers like e-commerce, it's your customers and your partners who have customers. Yes and yes, yes squared, best in the world. This is why I am so passionate about this industry. Because if there is any chance for the average person to get wealthy, it's getting worse, by the way. Every decade it's getting worse and worse and worse. Middle class is disappearing. The top is growing. Middle class is disappearing, and the bottom is exploding. So this is going away. And the only chance the most have, the 99% of people have, is to understand that they're in a negative monetary energy. A job cannot be in a positive monetary energy unless you're a CEO of some company. You got stock options and you got $1 million packages. You're not going to do, most people are not there. So what's happening to most people? What's happening to the population of the world? They're going towards catastrophe. Because every single day, week, month, and year, you're in a negative monetary energy, and more people become reliant on the government. And you know what? The government loves it. The government loves it. They're going to keep printing money, keep handing it out, so you can give them your vote. They can stay in power. The government loves it, but you become dependent. We call that socialism, by the way. Doesn't matter if it's in Canada. Independence comes when you control the chips. Independence comes when you can determine your life without the government or any other entity. Independence is when you decide what you want to do, when you want to do it, how you want to do it, without waiting for someone else's decision or someone else to enable you to do it. And I just give you every option, pretty much every option out there. And you find there's not that many that put you in a positive monetary energy. The best of the best is MLM, man. You're right here. You are right here. And maybe you don't get it. But hopefully after this call, you do get it. If you get it, blow up the chat group on YouTube, on Zoom, blow it up, and let's go expand our businesses, and get us from a negative monetary energy that we're in right now into a positive monetary energy. If you have a job, it's fantastic. Keep doing that. It's a negative, but that's fine. That's what you've got. And you start your MLM, and that's positive. Remember that. This is negative. That's positive because it may be new right now. It's not making you money right now. But 5 people joined last month. Boop, right? this will keep on going higher and higher and higher, while this will go down, down, and down. Inflation. This cannot keep up. So it has nowhere else to go but to go down. But this, as people join and build and customers come in, you sell and volume and CV come higher, higher, higher. And this plus this may get you in the center where you're not declining anymore. And eventually this is the one that's going to get you over the 20%, which is right now inflation in the best areas of the world. Some other areas is much worse. But the point is this, then eventually you're going to elevate, and the only chance you got is your MLM business, is your e-commerce business. Say hallelujah, thank God for this opportunity that we have. And let's not waste any more time, and let's go build our team and build our positive energy. With that, I think we're on Zoom, and maybe we can open up the line on Zoom and we say hello to each other. But I wanna hear you guys on YouTube, right? I wanna see your notes on YouTube, guys. I wanna see what you learned today and how you feel right now. And did this change your paradigm? Because this call is not just information. It should be a paradigm shift that you finally understand. You finally understand what was wrong. You finally understand that what you need to do. Everything's energy. That's not according to me. This is according to the science, and this is according to quantum physics, right? So now we know everything's. So is it a positive or is it a negative, right? Negative is never good. Positive is good. So now you get how money works. The money laws work. Now, once you understand how the money laws work, you can find the solution, and you can fix that problem. If you know what the problem is, you can fix that problem. All right, Zoom, since YouTube folks can't be speaking, speak nice and loud so YouTube can hear you. While you're here, folks, make sure that you subscribe to the channel. Click on that like button. I see there's a lot more people there than like button. Just scroll down, click like, subscribe, throw some comments there. Share this link with somebody. If this thing hit home for you and you have a family member that maybe they're struggling, you know what, doesn't matter if they're in our company or not, does not matter if it's MLM or not, send them the link. So listen, you want to get out of your situation, watch this, right? Send it to them, have them watch this link. Some of the
we have Imelda on the call. She raised her hand, so.
Sure. Hi, Imelda, Philippines.
Hello.
Hey, Imelda.
Hello. Hi, everyone. Good morning from the Philippines. Once again, I learned, and I will try my best to have that positive energy every day. I remembered when I said to you before that I will try, and then you said, no, do your best to do it.
Just do it, right? Just do it.
While listening, I cannot help but share my experience. When I was in the MLM, I got the chance to put up my own travel agency. Okay. But when I got deeper into that, I understood that the big fish eats the little fish.
Yeah.
So I said, competition here is difficult. And however, when we were just thinking of putting up this business, it was always at the back of my mind that MLM is still the best. So I did that for just more than 1 year, close to 2 years. I go there in the morning and then go out. My feet, my ass is like, hey, you go out, you go to talk to people. my drive was more on that, and because of the competition, of course. And my mind is more on MLM. Sorry to say, but I didn't much do good on my travel agency. came to a point that it is more on MLM that I get to pay the